Hi and welcome to SnapPixie. This is the second video in a series of tutorials about the Nikon Coolpix A1000 digital camera. Today I'm going to go over the basics of taking pictures in auto mode. If you've used other digital cameras, some of this will be familiar to you, but if you've only ever taken pictures with your phone, or if you're an old-timer like me and are mostly familiar with film cameras, there's a lot to learn. So let's get started. To take pictures in auto mode, the mode dial has to be set so that the little green camera is lined up with the dot just to the left of it. Press the on-off button just to the right of the mode dial and the monitor comes on and the lens extends. In the upper left corner of the monitor you can see the little icon that looks like a camera. That tells you you're in auto mode. When you change modes using the mode dial, you get a screen which briefly explains the mode you're in. For example, if I turn to programmed auto, it says let the camera choose the shutter speed and aperture, and the icon up in the corner will change to a P. Okay, so going back to auto, there are a bunch of different icons on the screen. After about 8 seconds they all disappear, so they're not cluttering up your view of what you're shooting. If you want them to come back on, for example, to check how much battery life you have left, just press the shutter button lightly and they'll reappear briefly. Rather than overwhelming you by explaining all the icons in one tutorial, I'll just go over them as we talk about the functions they represent, probably a few in each video. Today I want to mention a couple of the most important ones. First of all, the battery, which is down in the lower left corner of the screen. A solid battery means it's fully charged. As the charge gets depleted, it'll turn to like a half battery and then an empty battery when the battery is dead. Another thing you want to be aware of is this number down in the lower right corner of the screen. This is the number of exposures you have left, or in plain English, the number of pictures you can take before you run out of memory. I have a 32 gig memory card installed, so it's telling me I can take 6,393 pictures left at the current settings. If you don't have a memory card installed, it says IN for internal memory next to the number. So I can take 17 pictures without the memory card installed. That's not many, but it's better than nothing, just in case my memory card is full or I accidentally left it in the computer at home. Now the number of exposures or pictures you have left depends on what resolution the camera is set for. If I switch to a higher resolution, my 6,392 remaining will drop to a lower number. We'll get into all those settings in a future video. Now when the camera's been on for about a minute and you haven't done anything, the monitor goes dark and the green light just below the on-off button starts to flash. All you have to do is press the on-off button or the shutter button again, and it comes right back on and you're ready to take a picture again. If you don't press any buttons, eventually the camera will shut off completely. So I've got plenty of battery life and plenty of exposures left. Let's go take some pictures. Hold your camera and frame the subject where you want it. You can use the zoom controller up on top here to zoom in and out until you have it just right. There's also a zoom control on the left side of the lens here, which might be easier to use if you're left-handed. When you like what you see in the monitor, to press the shutter button halfway, by which I mean to the point where you start to feel some resistance. See the green rectangles? Those are the points the camera is focusing on, and if that's what I want to focus on, then I'm good to go. I press the shutter button the rest of the way down and take the picture. In auto mode, the camera will tend to focus on whatever is in the center of the monitor. But that may not always be what you want to be in sharpest focus. For example, I might want this gravestone on the right side here to be the main focus, with the ones behind it to be slightly out of focus. But the camera is focusing on the ones behind instead because they're in the center of the frame. So I have two options. I can switch to one of the manual modes and get more control of the shot that way, or I can take the picture with the gravestone that I want to be in focus in the center of the frame, which will make the camera focus on that, and then I can crop the picture later so that the picture is off-center the way I want it to look. sometimes you might get a flashing red rectangle instead of a solid green one. That means the camera is unable to focus and you need to try something different. This has happened to me when I've tried to zoom in too close on something without being in macro mode. So I just zoom out a bit and try again. There we go. Now there's another way of taking pictures with this camera, and that is by using the touch screen, or as Nikon calls it, the touch panel. See this little icon here? This is the touch shooting icon, and even when all the others disappear, this one stays on screen. When it looks like this, the touch shutter is on, and I can take a photo just by tapping the monitor. If you're used to using touch screens with your other electronics, you might like this feature. One drawback to having the touch shutter enabled is that you can't see where the camera is focusing before it takes the picture. So if you're using that function, I would recommend reviewing your photos right after you take them, just in case you have to take some of them over again. Another issue with the touch shutter function is that every time you accidentally touch the screen, it takes a picture. If that annoys you, just tap the touch shutter icon and it switches that function off. To turn it back on again, just tap it again. If you think you need more light to take a picture, you might want to use the flash. As in this case, you can see my teddy bear is only lit from one side, so he's casting a big shadow on his other side, and really doesn't look that good. So I'm going to try the flash and see if I can get a better shot with that. If we look at the icons on the screen, you can see the camera icon there for auto mode, and next to that is the flash icon. The lightning bolt in a circle with a line through it means the flash is off. To turn it on, you pull this little lever right here to the right, and the flash pops up. There is no setting on the camera that will make that physically pop up. You have to do it manually yourself. So now you can see the icon has changed to a lightning bolt with auto next to it, which means auto flash. Now what auto flash means is that when the camera detects it needs more light, the flash will automatically go off. So let's give it a try. I've got them centered the way I want. Press the shutter button, focus. And did you see the flash? And that'll be a good picture. He's lit much more nicely. There are a few other flash options you can choose from when you're in auto mode. The way you access them is by using the multi-selector over here on the back of the camera. See the flash icon at the top? You press the ring around the multi-selector just above the flash icon, and it brings up your options. You get a little scroll at the bottom that tells you what the different options are as you're going along, but I'll just bring the camera a little closer so you can see them better. The one that's in yellow is the one that's selected, in this case auto flash, which is the one we were using. The one below that is auto plus red eye reduction. This is so when you're taking pictures of people, their eyes don't glow red like they're possessed by a demon. Below that is fill flash, which just means that the flash fires every time you take a picture, not just when the light is dim. The last flash option is called slow sync. This is meant for taking portraits at night with background scenery. The flash will fire, illuminating the subject, but it also has a slow shutter speed to capture the darker background. Keep in mind that a slower shutter speed means that if the camera moves at all, the photo might be blurry. Using a tripod or setting the camera on a stable surface might be best if you're selecting this option. Once you've highlighted the flash option you want, press the OK button in the center of the multi-selector. You can also select the flash option you want just by tapping it on the screen and then tapping OK. If you get on the flash options screen and then you change your mind and decide to keep whatever option you already had, you can just tap the back button here, which is this little curvy arrow thing on the screen, and then you'll go back into shooting mode. When you're using the flash, this little red lightning bolt at the lower right corner of the screen appears. Once you take a flash photo, let me just take a picture so you can see what happens. When you take a flash photo, the little lightning bolt will blink once or twice. You can't take a photo while it's blinking because the flash is recharging. But once it's solid again and you can see it only takes a second, you're good to go and you can take another picture. When you're done using the flash, don't forget to carefully press it back into place again so you don't accidentally damage it by bumping it against something. Okay, we've taken a few pictures. Now let's look at them. There's two ways to access playback mode. You can either hold down the playback button, which is this arrow in a square right on the back of the camera, while you press the on-off button, and that will turn the camera on in playback mode. Or if the camera's already on, you just press the playback button and it goes from shooting mode to playback mode. So let's turn on the camera, press the playback button. The screen will show you the last picture you took. You can see in the top right corner of the screen here it says number 20 of 20. There are a couple of different ways to scroll through the pictures. You can swipe from left to right to go back towards the beginning and see all the pictures you've taken. You just use the tip of your finger or thumb and just swipe it across the screen just like you do with a smartphone. And then you swipe the opposite direction from right to left to go towards the end. You can also use the ring around the multi-selector to do the same thing, pressing either at the left side or the right side of the ring to go backward or forward. There's a third way to scroll through your photos when you're in playback mode, and that is by using the command dial, this dial right here on top of the camera, and you just rotate it with your thumb and it'll go back through the photos, or the other way to go forward. If you want to see multiple pictures at a time, you use the zoom control at the top of the camera. You just press it towards the W and it brings up 4 thumbnails at once. Use your thumb or fingertip to scroll up and down to see more photos. Tap on a photo to select it and make it full screen. Or while you're looking at the thumbnails, you can use the ring around the multi-selector, going up, down, right, left, to select a photo. Whichever one has the yellow box around it is the one that's selected, and then you just press the OK button in the center of the multi-selector to make it full screen. So you press the zoom lever towards the W to see 4 thumbnails. If you press it again, you get 9. One more time, 16. And again, and now they're really tiny. If you press towards the W one last time, it brings up a calendar, which is a really useful feature. And what it shows you is the date that the picture was taken. So whichever picture you have selected in the thumbnails, it'll show you what date you took them. And this can be a really helpful feature if you have a lot of pictures in the camera. I know some people have thousands of pictures in their camera, and you might want to find, say, the pictures you took at Cousin Betsy's wedding. You know what date that was. Then you can quickly find it instead of having to scroll through thousands of pictures on the camera. To navigate through the calendar, you just use these arrow buttons that are on the top. 7 is the month, July gives you the year, so you can go back forward to June, May. I don't have many pictures in the camera. I usually delete them as soon as I'm done with them, so July. But if we go forward to August, then you can see there's some pictures there on August 5th that I took. And if I tap on the date, it brings me up to those pictures. So then I can go forward and see the pictures I took on August 5th without having to scroll through everything. Okay, so to get back to the thumbnails, you go the other direction with the zoom control towards the T. Just pull it towards the T. So now we're back on the tinies, One more time the 16, again for 9, again for 4, and now we're back to full screen again. Now if you keep pulling the zoom towards the T, it actually zooms in on your picture so you can see the details closer. And you can zoom in pretty close. Once you've started zooming in on a picture, you can also use the command dial to zoom in even further just by using your thumb to rotate the dial. If you want to move around your zoomed picture, you can swipe with your finger to see different parts of the zoomed image. Or you can use the arrows on the multi-selector to move around the zoomed image and see different areas. And then you push it towards the W to zoom out again and back to full screen. Just like with a smartphone, you can use your fingers on the screen to zoom in and out as well by touching the picture and pulling your fingers apart to zoom in and then pinching them back together again to zoom back out again. I don't think this works as well as using the zoom button up here, but you can play around with it. When you're done looking at your photos, just push the playback button to go back to shooting mode. Well, that's a lot of information for one day, so I think we'll stop here. Next time, we'll continue on with some more basic camera functions like cropping and deleting photos, using the macro mode to take close-ups, and more. If you want to be notified when the next video is posted, click on the subscribe button and the little bell icon. Till then, have fun with your camera, and see you next time.